Hey, y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Mike Lawler just takes it to Wolf Blitzer here and reminds him what's actually going on with the Schumer shutdown. Let's dive in.
Chuck Schumer should have been consistent with what he has done every time during his 44 years in Washington, which is to vote yes on a clean CR. Instead, he chose to play politics. So I'd like to see this come to an end. We want to make sure that the funds are there for all of these critical programs, including SNAP and WIC, and make sure that the American people get the services and benefits that they rely on.
But it didn't fully fund health care, the Affordable Care Act, for millions of Americans who are relying on that. That's going to go up really significantly, the costs.
Well, look, I've been a co-lead on legislation to extend the ACA subsidies for the last 2 months. I went down to Washington, asked Leader Jeffries to support that legislation. He chose not to. He outright refused when I asked him multiple times to sign on to the bill. The fact is, this was a crisis of the Democrats' own making. Obamacare has not worked the way that they said it would. Healthcare premiums have skyrocketed 60% since 2010. And obviously, this ACA subsidy that was put in place during COVID that the Democrats slated to expire at the end of this year is having an impact on premiums. So I want to see us address that in the short term by passing an extension for a year. But also longer term, we need to actually address the fact that Obamacare has not reduced the cost of health care. It has not increased access. It takes people months to get a doctor's appointment. There's a lot of challenges with health care that we have to work in a bipartisan way to address.
But why not talk about it now?
Because, Wolf, as Democrats said, from Chuck Schumer to Nancy Pelosi to Hakeem Jeffries, you don't negotiate at the barrel of a gun. You don't use the American people as hostages in a government shutdown. Open up the government and let's do our job. This isn't that complicated, but unfortunately what Democrats have done is try to exert the only quote-unquote leverage they have, as Catherine Clark said, the Democratic whip in the House, that this is the only chance they have to exert any type of leverage in a policy negotiation is to shut the government down. It's wrong, and it's not how we govern in America. I've been against it when Republicans have tried it. I voted 8 times under Joe Biden to keep the government open and funded because this is not what you do. You don't put people's SNAP and WIC in jeopardy trying to exert policy changes.
We've asked everyday Americans on this program who rely on food stamps what their message to politicians in Washington is as this shutdown drags on and on and on. I want you to listen and watch what they told us. Listen to this.
So you guys should both to come to whatever consensus that needs to be done in order to put the American people first.
You really didn't think this through very well. You really didn't. You all get paid. We don't. We're counting on that. And you took it away.
I want everyone to do their job. Do what they have us doing. Our job. Unpaid. Because at least they receiving a paycheck. And their families aren't affected by this. Ours are.
So, Congressman, what do you say to these people? And I should note, we've asked the same of a Democratic member of Congress the other day as well.
They're 100% correct, and they have every right to be frustrated and angry and outraged. And it's part of the reason why I have foregone my pay during this shutdown. Because if the American people are not receiving the benefits they're entitled to, if our federal employees are not being paid, Congress certainly shouldn't be paid. And yet Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries seem perfectly content continuing to receive their pay. I think the fact is that this could all be resolved immediately if the Senate Democrats would do their job and pass the clean CR that has been sitting in the Senate for well over a month. They voted 14 times not to fund the government. It is shameful. It is wrong. And the American people have every right to be angry and upset about it. Nobody should be suffering because of the incompetence of people in Congress. The fact is that this is very simple, very straightforward. Pass the clean CR. fund the programs, and let's get back to work and do the things we need to do to address all the challenges facing the American people, from health care to immigration to housing and to the cost of living.
And that's the long and short of it. All we're asking for is for a handful of Democrats to cross the picket line and do what needs to be done and sign the CR, all right, the continuing resolution. Keep the big, beautiful bill that got passed instead of upending American lives. Also, you can throw a pity party and to show that Chuck Schumer has some gastrointestinal fortitude. That's the ugliest part about this whole thing. It's a power play. I've said this ad nauseum, but you just watched 3 people send in some information to CNN basically saying that, yes, we work for the government. We're not seeing our paychecks. That's a problem. And on one hand, it's great that we have some of these tariffs, because that means that we're actually able to fund the government even though it's shut down. I mean, that's been a record, that's been a deal breaker, all right? And a deal breaker in a good way. Hey, y'all, what if I told you that most collagen products aren't just a waste of money? They could be loaded with toxins that lead to skin issues, heart problems, and even cognitive decline. Sounds scary, but it's true. See, collagen is the most abundant protein found in the body, and our natural supply runs lower as we age. That's why so many people are turning to collagen to help with joint pain, bone health, and even look years younger. But here's the catch. You have to know what you're looking for, or you might be doing your body more harm than good. So before you buy another tub off of Amazon or from your local store, go check out the top 5 collagen warnings that every American needs to see, and take advantage of this special offer. It's a real quick read that can help save your health and your wallet. Right now, get a special bundled deal at a fraction of retail costs plus free shipping. This offer is only available at getnativepath.com/brawl. That's getnativepath.com/brawl. And instead of admitting that they've lost the election in 2024, instead of admitting that the American people were tired of the Joe Biden and Democrat nonsense, instead of admitting that, yeah, maybe, just maybe the Biden administration screwed a whole lot of stuff up and we need to fix it and fix it pronto, now they're holding it up. If you want to talk about poll numbers, most polls are made up. They aren't tackling a good swath of people. So instead, I'm going to look at the other numbers instead, the numbers that aren't there. Because we're talking about air traffic control folks who aren't getting their paychecks. If that sounds like a problem to you, guess what? It is. It is a massive problem. Remember at the beginning of this year where Trump takes over and immediately, just out of the blue, all these plane collisions started happening? That's because under the Biden administration, they weren't hiring enough qualified people. As a matter of fact, I want to go off on a little bit of a longer tangent. Finding qualified people to do this kind of work is incredibly tough. You'd think that, well, we've got a pretty decent Air Force, a good Army, that you would be able to churn out people who could handle this kind of logistics to begin with, right? That's half the reason for our military, is so they can go into the civilian workforce and bring in that military style, right? That's what should be happening, but it didn't under Joe Biden, because they cared more about DEI hiring in order to fill the gap, when instead they could have just had a few tweaks here and there and make Americans feel patriotic again, and all of a sudden, under the Trump administration, when they learned that, oh, not only is he going to win, he's going to make the military better. You had people that were more incentivized to come into the military. So this incentive structure that we keep on seeing, why is it not flowing out to the rest of the United States economy? What's happening? It's not about the government shutdown. It's about the government that we had 4 years prior, and I hate complaining about that. Because we got to deal with the problems now. We got to stay in the present. But in order to do that, we got to know how we got here. We had the failures of guys like Alejandro Mayorkas and the lowball estimates of about 13 to 15 million people crossing the border in 4 years. You had that problem to deal with. Then you also had the problems of a fake economy bolstered by government spending. That's not good for Americans, having a fake economy. And then the refusal to deal with the bird flu, just incompetencies galore. And now, when things are starting to when the ship is starting to right its course, when the storm has passed over and we can start sailing again, we can pick up anchor and start heading out into better waters, half the crew for some reason tries to mutiny. This is insane. And this is why I like guys like Mike Lawler. He's there trying to put in work. He's talking about the times that he had come across the aisle himself. And being a New York Republican like he is, despite the fact that he's clearly a Yankee, I respect the dude's game and what he's trying to do. So what gives? Is it the power play problem? No. Is it the Trump derangement syndrome? No. Is it the problem with the economy? No. Then what is it? It's all of these things. It's all of these things making up into this big, ugly ball of yarn that's that's tough to bounce. You throw it off the wall, you don't know where it's going to go. And you got people complaining about the system, and instead of blaming the Democrat Party, who does not want to play ball, who does not care about the process, who are willing to use Americans as leverage in an attempt to keep covering illegal immigrants on health care. This isn't about Obamacare subsidies. This is about whether or not you will believe that it's a good idea that we keep subsidizing everything. And now we're talking about SNAP and EBT benefits? Maybe it's time we stop subsidizing this and start realizing that Americans themselves, we have human capital we can start using. We have these cool 501c3 organizations everywhere on the sides of roads. What are they called again? Oh, they're called churches. See, Republicans know how to use their human capital because they know how important it is to use wealth as capital. Democrats have forgotten how to do both. And now they're burning all of their bridges, all in an attempt to stick it to Trump and the Republicans while using your neighbors as leverage. I cannot think of a lower bar to cross over, and yet here we are. This is a sad state of affairs, and Mike Lawler is trying to speak truth to power here because you got to be careful about what you say on CNN. You don't have that problem on YouTube. But the reality is we are in a very ugly mess, and we're asking Democrats, please, if you're watching this, we just need a handful of you. More than likely, people in the safe districts will probably not primary you. Okay? Do the right thing. Protect American interests. Vote for the CR. Vote for this continuing resolution. But those are my thoughts on the matter. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. My name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And hey, if you want to help support this channel, consider becoming monthly members. You will get special catered content directly to what you have due to your feedback. And remember, I might be the flashy center fielder as I talk in a tan suit. I might be the flashy center fielder, but I've got a team of great starting pitchers behind me who really put in the innings. It would go a long way to helping this channel stay afloat and keep giving you the Politibrawl news that you've come to know and at least respect. I appreciate that. Thank you. Y'all have a good one.